It's a test of wills, it's a test of strength, it is a test of might.
Back of the body is going to be the one that determines whether you're going to be successful here. You're going to have that posterior chain. It's the back side of the competition. There's 9 reps.
This is an immense test of strength.
At this year's semifinals, each event had roughly its own programming, but 2 out of the 6 tests had to be the ones that we gave them. And one of those was a lifting complex, where they did 3 reps of clean, 2 reps of a front squat, 1 rep of a jerk, and heaviest total for that complex won. So I originally had that kind of 3-2-1 scheme in my mind, and I thought it would be really cool to do a heavier style event that focused on that and took it a little bit further. So the pyramid of 1-2-3-2-1 started to develop. You know, there were a few other ideas that I don't want to talk about too much because I might use them again later, that kind of emerged from that could present lifting in a unique way. But really I tried to get to something that was going to be close to a max effort without having to use max effort loads. So just kind of a twist on that. You know, this was one of the last ones that I feel like I had written in pen, so to speak. You know, there were a lot of other tests that really felt solid before this one got to that point. So there were elements that I knew and were gonna stay from an early stage, but the final version of this was one of the last things to be firmed up. I do remember the conversation around the yoke, because the yoke is the hardest thing to get right because it's used the least, and you're gonna have just a wildly different level of athlete experience with it. Some people are gonna pick that thing up and make it move like nothing, and with the same weight, same level of competitive experience, relatively same level of athlete, they're gonna get pinned. So it's a tricky one. I do remember kind of going off of the event in 2021 on Sunday morning with the GHD and the cheese curd burpees over the hay bale and then the yoke carry. You know, seeing the way the athletes moved that on game day and how surprising it was. Like, I mean, they kind of broke the test on that one. So in my mind, I was like, it cannot be lighter than that. There's no way that it can be less than. And that was kind of the starting point.
The reps are 1-2-3-2-1. Start on the yoke. It's 1 carry down the field until you've got the yoke past the line. Bars are probably a little too close there, Chuck. 2 front squats. 3 deadlifts. 2 front squats. Pick the yoke up and walk it back.
What the final yoke weight was in 2018, and that's what the yoke weight is going to be for this workout. To be determined if it gets heavier or not.
Just like during a heavy back squat, right? You don't want to breathe out. Just small little breaths. Yeah.
To get the right loading took a lot of finicky kind of testing and retesting, arguing with the team, self-doubt. You know, you come back around, so I think we got it. No, we need to run it again. Let's see. Especially for the women. You know, the women still have, in my opinion, a wider range of abilities where the top of the field, the distance between the top of the field and 40th place is greater. For the men, I think you still have a little bit more density as far as the general strength level. Not as much disparity. So for the men, it was a little easier to settle on a weight that would challenge the best and be okay for everybody else. For the women, you know, ultimately we had to be okay with some of the field just not being able to manage it. That was true for the men as well, but more so for the women. When we were talking about the weights, it kind of flip-flopped back and forth a lot. We'd skew it kind of heavy because we'd have like a really, really strong woman do it. You know, Cece in testing just ran through this, made it look like nothing. We're like, okay, back to the drawing board. We need to bump this up a little bit.
You get like Tia or Barnhart out there, they're gonna sprint that thing across there, and I think you could definitely go up a bit.
Yeah, definitely no lighter.
No. After I did the first barbell, I was like, oh, I didn't need to think about that. I thought about it going into it because I thought that was gonna tax my legs a lot more. But once I hit it, I was like, oh, this is not the weight that I thought it was going to feel like.
Same thing on the second attempt at it? Oh, interesting. Okay. All right.
475 is a bump.
Yes, it is kind of weird when you see in one testing environment you have an athlete that just runs through it. You get to another testing environment, you have athletes that are absolutely stopped by it. And so yes, it creates a lot of self-doubt as to, okay, did we get it right? Do we need to adjust this? Is it okay that these athletes are getting stopped and these athletes are not? I think generally speaking, most of the field should finish most of the time. There are going to be some events where it's very deliberately the athletes versus the test. It's going to be very difficult for them to finish what's there. And that could be because of the loading or because of the particular movement combination or because of the time cap.
Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. All the way through. All the way. Ah. I tried my best, man.
Yeah, you did great.
Thank you.
Especially after this morning.
Oh.
It's a rough
Yeah, my back. It's like, all the way, all the way, all the way. Good.
Standing at the yoke felt like almost like a 1 rep max squat. So you had to be like, once I got it up, I was like, okay, now just like keep it stable. But like everything is dead, like back, arms, butt, glutes, legs, like everything is like literally shaking. So it was just like a fully maximal effort on like a super heavy thing right at the end.
Yeah, and your mind can play tricks on you a little bit there, you know. And I think this is probably true for most affiliates when they're programming generally, is they have some ideas and then they think about it a little bit more like, ooh, is that the best rep scheme? Is that the best way to approach this? And you can always kind of go through this review cycle that at a certain point you have to put a stamp in it. I was really happy with the way it played out. Once I saw it unfold, I was like, okay, it's right. Yes, this is challenging enough that the best can do it. They can race it, but they still have to think about it. And, you know, it definitely shows where there's some holes in people's games, and that's okay. The challenge of the test on its face is not what makes it interesting. It is the intensity and the effort and the application that the athletes bring to it that makes it compelling. And I think that should be true for most of the events at the Games. And that is important every once in a while, to put something out there that's a bit of a stretch and let's see who can do it. And we're often surprised at the Games level. And, you know, again, translate it back to kind of the affiliate. It's totally normal to have somebody come into the affiliate, see what's on the board and say, I don't know if I can pull that off. And then they apply themselves to it and they can. Or maybe they couldn't today, but they come back and through training and through encouragement and coaching and all that, 6 months from now, it's no problem. You know, coming into a heavy lift pre-fatigued is a different animal than just doing the heavy lift on its own. And so I think the back nine really highlighted who could adapt. I mean, you had to be strong as hell to finish that, number one. And then number two, to be able to manage the different types of fatigue and still keep your technique up. It's pretty impressive to watch what the best could do there.